Good evening and thank you for joining us for another edition of NTV's Grow. Tonight we take a look at the latest drought monitor and find out really how that's affecting planting season. Plus, landowners speak out on both sides of the controversial Keystone XL pipeline issue. And we see how Nebraska's ethanol industry could affect local consumers. First, we start with the latest in the drought monitor information. Last week, Nebraska and Kansas saw a bit of recovery following the recent rain and snow, and that recovery is slowly continuing. The entire state of Nebraska remains in severe drought, but areas in extreme and exceptional drought have both been scaled back. Exceptional drought regions dropped by about a half, from 15% of the state to 8%. Extreme drought areas also dropped from 94% to 91%. That drought monitor may send some people into a panic seeing all that red shading across the state. But state climatologist Al Dutcher says there's a lot of information that goes into the monitor reading.
And a lot of times people look at the drought monitor and see us changing categories and get a little bit freaked out because of the dry conditions we've had. But understanding that we're trying to balance long-term and short-term indicators, and right now the biggest precedence is short-term indicators. So we've at least got some soil moisture built up. It's going to take several more events of this magnitude before we see any further reduction in the drought.
You may think recent rain and snowstorms may provide a big help, but experts say it will take a lot more than a few showers to bring us back to those normal conditions.
There are precipitation chances in the future, but nothing that would rival the intensity of the storm that we've just seen. So this is going to be a gradual, prolonged process that's going to require continual precipitation events all the way through April and May in the hope that it'll carry us at least into the first part of the growing season and reduce some of the significant irrigation demand that's kind of expected based on what the soil moisture conditions are presently.
Those cooler soil temperatures out there are making it difficult for a lot of the farmers to get out in the field. One thing that can help boost those yields in a situation like we're seeing out there is the use of fungicide. Applications in the furrow can help boost yields and keep the seed healthy in cooler soils, even protect against frost damage. In Nebraska, farm trials show a 7 to 8 bushel boost to the acre. Even with input cost in mind, that can be a substantial return.
If you look at even $5 corn, that's a $35 to $40 return on your investment at $10.
Fungicide in a furrow gives plants more vigorous, healthy roots that can stand up to soil-borne disease and adverse weather conditions. Producers across the state, it's no secret, they are itching to get into the field. But the cool weather, rain, and snow are holding them back. NTV's JoBeth DeVero talked with one local farmer about these planting delays.
On average, corn in Nebraska is usually planted early to mid-April. However, below normal temperatures and the lingering drought are delaying this year's start to planting season. Farmers say the soil is too wet to run a tractor and planter through the field. Soil temperature is a major factor farmers must also consider before getting this year's crop into ground.
The soil temperature to plant corn is supposed to be around 50 degrees, but the last I heard the soil temperature was under 40 degrees, so we still have a long ways to go before the soil warms up enough to make it good for planting too. So
Joel says with delayed planting, they may also run into delayed harvesting in the fall. However, even with a long way to go, farmers are remaining optimistic.
If we get it in the ground here pretty soon, I think everything will be fine. I mean, the later it goes, it affects yields a little more, and then maybe some grain quality. But I think we produce one of the highest quality grains in the world, and it's pretty well sought after worldwide.
On a brighter note, Joel says subsoil moisture has been depleted from last year's drought, so the recent rain makes it nice to go into the planting season with some moisture reserves. Back to you.
Battle lines are drawing in an international dispute over oil, with central Nebraska at the very center of the fight. With one shot to be heard, emotions are running high as Nebraskans speak for and against the Keystone XL pipeline. Our Grow co-host Steve White reports.
No, we don't want any tar sands.
Singing as they trudge through the snow, opponents of the Keystone XL pipeline raise their voices and strike up the band, hoping to be heard by President Obama.
Is he going to raise the heavy hand of big oil, or is he going to raise the hand and the spirits of the American people?
Pipeline critics appeared to outnumber supporters 3-1, but project backers think the numbers are in their favor.
We believe this project is a tremendous job creator. The department found in its report that the construction of KXL will support over 42,000 jobs, putting $2 billion in workers' pockets.
And they pledge it'll be the safest pipeline ever built.
Keystone XL will have minimal impact on the environment.
But critics say the pipeline still poses a threat to Nebraska.
It digs the environmental and economic hole that America is in deeper.
Tribal leaders say it violates their sovereignty. Some farmers say it could pollute their land, but others argue farmers need oil as much as anyone. State Department officials say they knew what to expect, but they are looking for technical differences that could impact their environmental review.
I mean, yes, we know there are a lot of people for or against this project, but it's really, okay, so what's the substance? What else needs to be done to make sure we're really doing the best process that we possibly can?
But they caution this is far from over. Once the environmental review is complete, they still have to decide if it's in the national interest. And there's no telling when President Obama will make that decision.
But I wouldn't guess at a date right now.
Now from here, the State Department says that they will finalize the environmental study, and then it's on to the next phase, deciding if it's in the national interest. The federal government has started a new livestock identification program, and this is to help agriculture officials quickly track livestock, especially in cases of disease. The program replaces an earlier voluntary one that failed because of widespread opposition among farmers and ranchers. The new program is mandatory but more limited in scope. It applies only to animals being shipped across state lines and gives states flexibility in deciding how animals will be identified. Officials say the program really does help quickly identify animals that must be quarantined, and that means healthy ones can keep going to processing facilities without an interruption in the food supply. Beef cattle numbers in Kansas are at the lowest level in 14 years, and that's because of this ongoing drought. But dairy herds are growing slightly to make up for the production in other states. Hot, dry conditions have been the main factor in reducing those numbers, and due to the dried up pastures and reduced hay, corn, soybean crops, on March 1st, there are slightly more than 2 million cattle on feed in Kansas and 7% fewer than this time last year. Dairy cattle numbers in Kansas have risen slightly, but production is down by 45 pounds per cow. Ethanol has been blamed for higher gas prices, even poor performance in vehicles, and we have reaction on all this finger pointing. Also later on, we're going to show you the Farm Youth of the Month. Stay with us.
FFA's given me so many opportunities. Between just being here and working on my SAE projects and also learning through the contests. As a freshman, I didn't talk to anybody. I was so far inside my shell, I thought I was never going to get out. And then I got involved in FFA and I started to talk to people, and before you know it, I just talked to everybody.